Welcome to African Folktales by D. Elenas. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us in the comments where you're joining us from. Don't forget to turn on notifications so every story comes straight to you. Some people are born into love, some are born into expectation. But in the village of Adera, worth was decided by what the eye could see. Thee said beauty was a blessing. Thee said beauty was favor. Thee said beauty could change a girl's destiny. So when two sisters were raised under the same roof but given different value by the same people, no one questioned it. Not when one was praised wherever she walked. Not when the other learned to live without being seen for years. The village believed they had judged correctly until the day a man of honor arrived and chose the girl they had ignored all her life. What followed was not just surprise, it was the beginning of truth the village was not prepared to face, because sometimes the person the world refuses to see is the one destiny has been watching all along. In the village of Adera, beauty was not just admired. It was measured, discussed, and remembered like a family name. People said a beautiful face could open doors that hard work never touched. And in that village, there lived a girl who walked those same dusty paths every day and was still unseen. Her name was Amarash. Was not sick. She was not strange. She simply existed without notice, like a quiet breeze that moved leaves but never earned praise. Villagers knew her mother, Mama Sod, a widow who sold groundnuts by the roadside. They greeted Mama Sod warmly, but their eyes passed over Amara as if she were part of the wooden stall beside her when Amara was born. She had a twin sister named Adera. They came into the world on the same night during a soft, steady rain, but from childhood, the village decided they were not equal. Adera grew slender and striking, with features people described before greeting her. Amara grew strong and full-faced, with calm eyes that watched more than they spoke. As the years passed, one sister collected praise, the other collected silence, and in Adera, silence had weight because in a place where beauty was worshipped, being ignored was not an accident, it was a verdict the village believed could never be reversed. Amara and Adera grew under the same roof, ate from the same pot, and learned the same chores. Yet the village treated them like two different stories. When they walked to the stream as children, women called Adera close to admire her face. They would adjust her braids, pinch her cheeks gently, and predict a bright future for her. Amara stood nearby holding the water pot, waiting for the praise to finish so they could return home. Eat school. Teachers often asked Adera to stand in front during events. They said she represented grace. Amara was asked to carry benches, sweep the yard, or deliver messages. It was not cruelty that shaped this pattern, it was habit, and habit, in Adera, was stronger than fairness. Mama Sod noticed the difference early. She tried to correct people kindly, reminding them that her daughters were twins, equal in her eyes, but people laughed softly and said she was a loving mother who refused to see clearly. Adera began to enjoy the attention without realizing its cost. She walked with confidence that came from constant praise. Amara walked with calm that came from constant silence. Neither sister planned their rollest village chose for the moment. Once a village chooses a story, it rarely changes its mind without a reason strong enough to shake pride itself. By the time the twins entered their teenage years, their paths had grown even more defined. Adera moved through the market like someone expected to be noticed. Traders greeted her first. Young men offered help before she asked. She learned to smile in a way that rewarded admiration and discouraged questions. Amara worked beside her mother every market day. She measured groundnuts carefully, counted coins twice, and thanked customers with steady respect. Older women trusted her honesty, yet trust did not bring praise. At home, the difference followed them quietly. When visitors came, they asked after Adera's future. They spoke of marriage prospects and fortunate destiny. Amara was asked about chores, and responsibility did not make Adera cruel, but it made her careless. She began to believe admiration was natural, like daylight that arrived each morning without effort. Amara learned something else. She learned to listen. She noticed how quickly kindness changed. When advantage appeared, she noticed how easily people forgot yesterday's words. An evening, after a long market day, Mama Sod watched her daughters in silence. She saw confidence growing in one heart and quiet strength growing in another. She prayed that both would remain safe, but she also feared that the world which praised one child so loudly might one day test them, both in a way neither expected. The day everything began to change arrived like any other market day in Adera. Smoke from roasted corn drifted through the air. Traders called out prices. Children ran between stalls, while elders discussed matters of land, and Famila Mama Saad sent both daughters to manage the stall while she visited a supplier. Amara arranged the goods neatly. Adera greeted familiar faces with warmth that drew attention. Late in the morning, a stranger entered the market square. He did not arrive with noise or display. Yet people made space as he passed, sensing importance in his quiet bearing. He greeted elders respectfully and listened more than he spoke. Whispers traveled quickly. They said he was Kelechi, a young man of high standing who had returned after years of study in distant towns. Some believed he came to inspect trade routes. Others believed he came for personal reasons. Adera noticed him immediately and adjusted her wrapper with careful grace. She positioned herself where he could easily see. Haramara continued measuring groundnuts for an elderly customer, unaware that the stranger had paused nearby when he finally spoke. He did not address the admired sister. Thanked Amara for her patience with the customer and asked her. Namath market did not fall silent loudly. It fell silent slowly, like a story turning in a direction no one expected. Amara answered softly, unsure why such attention rested on her. Kelechi listened with calm interest, as though he had found something he had been searching for without knowing where to look. Asked about her mother's business and praised the careful way she arranged the goods. His tone carried no surprise, no pity, only recognition. Adera stood nearby, waiting for his gaze to shift. It did not. When he finished speaking, he nodded politely and moved on through the market, leaving behind a tension that spread faster than gossip. Voices rose after he left. Some said he must have mistaken the sisters. Others said he was testing something. A few suggested that quiet people often hide uncommon qualities. Adera returned home in silence, her pride unsettled in a way she could not explain. Amara carried the unsold goods behind her, confused by attention she had never sought. That evening, Mama Saad listened carefully as her daughters described what happened. She did not celebrate. She did not dismiss it, simply said that unexpected notice often carries responsibility. That night, as the compound grew quiet, Amara sat outside beneath the moon. She wondered why a stranger had seen what her village had overlooked for years. Inside the house, Adera lay awake, staring into darkness, holding a question she could not release. We had the world chosen differently today? Morning in Adera arrived with whispers. Already awake women at the stream spoke in lowered voices. Traders repeated the market story with small changes each time. By midday, it was no longer a moment of curiosity. It had become a question of meaning. Mama Saad tried to continue her routine, but visitors came under simple excuses. Some asked to buy groundnuts they did not need. Others came to greet and observe. Adera received them with polite smiles, yet tension followed her like heat. She noticed how people now looked between the sisters, comparing not only faces, but something deeper they could not name. Amara remained calm, though the attention unsettled her. She focused on work, measuring, arranging, listening. But inside, a quiet unease grew. She did not trust sudden change. In the afternoon, a messenger arrived at Mama Saad's compound. He greeted respectfully and delivered a simple message. Eli wished to visit properly, did not specify his purpose. He did not make a public announcement. He only asked permission to come with elders at a time convenient for the family. The message was respectful. Its meaning was heavy. After the messenger left, the compound remained still for a long time. Because in Adera, important visits were never casual, and when attention returned twice, it was no longer coincidence. That evening, Mama Saad gathered her daughters and spoke with courage. She reminded them that attention tests character more than hardship does. She warned Adera against pride and warned Amara against fear. Said both could lead to poor judgment. Adera listened, but remained unsettled. She believed admiration followed natural order. To her, the stranger's interest felt like a disruption that needed correction. Amara listened with humility. She felt no victory, only uncertainty. She wondered what expectations might follow attention she never requested outside their home. The village prepared quietly for the visit. Elders discussed customs. Women speculated about outcomes. Some predicted honor for Mama Saad's household. Others predicted disappointment. 3 days later, Kelechi returned. Arrived with 2 elders known for wisdom and fairness. Their presence signaled seriousness. They greeted Mama Saad with respect and sat beneath the shade tree within the compound. Adera presented water and kola nuts with careful grace. Amara remained inside until called. Following tradition, the elders spoke first, praising Mama Saad for raising disciplined daughters. Then Kelechi spoke plainly, said he wished to know Amara with honorable intention, said he admired her steadiness, her patience, and her respect. These words were simple, Their impact was not because, for the first time, the village heard value spoken where it had long placed silence. Days passed, and preparation replaced speculation. Kelechi visited again, this time speaking directly with Mama Saad about family history, responsibilities, and expectations. He asked thoughtful questions and listened with patience. His conduct earned respect from elders, who observed discreetly. He showed no interest in public display. He valued order and sincerity. Amara spoke with him only when appropriate, always in the presence of others. Their conversations were simple: work, family, community needs. Yet understanding grew steadily. The village watched closely. Some admired the dignity of the predecessors, searched for flaws. Adera maintained outward composure. She continued her duties and greeted visitors kindly. But comparison now followed her, instead of leading her. For the first time, she experienced what Amara had known for years: not mockery, but absence of attention. One evening, as sunset colored the sky, Mama Saad noticed both daughters working side by side in silence. She sensed a change she could not yet define. She prayed again for peace within her household, because recognition from the world can strengthen a family, but it can also reveal fractures that were always present, waiting only for light to expose them. As discussions continued, Adera adjusted its gaze slowly. Though not kindly where people once praised Adera openly, they now observed her with cautious curiosity. They were not cruel. They were simply uncertain how to behave. When long-held assumptions changed, Amara noticed the shift and felt no triumph. Instead, she felt responsibility grow heavier with each passing day. She worked harder at the stall, careful not to appear proud or distant. Kelechi's visits remained respectful and measured. He never arrived without greeting elders first. He never spoke carelessly. His presence carried calm rather than excitement. Afternoon, he asked Mama Saad about Amra's childhood. He listened attentively as she described her daughter's patience, her quiet endurance, and her habit of helping others without seeking reward. Adera heard these words from the doorway. They unsettled her more than praise ever had. She realized that qualities she once dismissed had become reasons for unearthed realization. Did not bring clarity, it brought discomfort. It suggested that value was not fixed by appearance alone. And if value could change, then certainty could disappear. For Adera, uncertainty was unfamiliar ground. Preparation for formal agreement began quietly. Elders from both families planned a modest introduction ceremony according to custom. No celebration would occur until understanding was complete and consent firmly given. Mama Saad guided Amara carefully, reminding her that marriage was not escape from hardship, but a different form of responsibility. Accepted this truth with seriousness. She did not dream of status. She hoped only for respect and peace. Meanwhile, Adera experienced a new kind of attention. Friends who once admired her now asked careful questions. Some encouraged patience. Others hinted that life often corrects unexpected choice. Their words sounded supportive, but they carried subtle judgment. Adera began to feel watched rather than praised. One evening, she approached Amara directly and asked whether she truly believed this change would last. Her voice was calm, yet her eyes searched for weakness. Amara answered honestly. She said she did not know the future. She only intended to act with dignity. Whatever came, the response offered no conflict, no argument, no claim of Victorian. That absence of rivalry unsettled Adera more than opposition would have, because when competition disappears, comparison loses meaning. And in Adera, meaning had always depended on comparison. The day of formal introduction arrived under a clear sky. Elders gathered in Mama Saad's compound. They spoke of family values, responsibilities, and expectations for unity. No grand promises were made. Only practical commitments were discussed. Kelechi affirmed his intention with calm certainty. He did not praise beauty or fortune. He spoke of character, partnership, and mutual respect. These words carried weight because they matched his conduct. Amara listened quietly, aware that her life was entering a path shaped not by sudden favor, but by steady choice. Adera observed from a respectful distance. She fulfilled every duty required of her. She served water, greeted elders, and maintained composure. Riot within her. Questions continued to groan. Questions of fairness, questions of identity. If admiration could fade and silence could be replaced, what defined a person's place? As the meeting ended, elders offered blessings for harmony and wisdom. They warned gently that families must guard unity when change enters. Quickly that evening, as calm returned to the compound, Mama Saad sensed both relief and tension sharing the same space. Because recognition had arrived, but understanding had not yet followed. And without understanding, change rarely settles peacefully. Life in Adera did not change loudly after the introduction. It changed in small, persistent ways that could not be reversed. Women who once overlooked Amara now greeted her with measured respect. Their tone was polite, but curiosity remained beneath every word. They wanted to understand what they had missed for so long. Amara responded with the same calm she had always carried. She worked beside her mother, spoke gently, and avoided unnecessary attention. She believed dignity should remain consistent, whether noticed or ignored. Kelechi visited less frequently after the agreement. Following custom, when he came, he spoke with Mama Saad about practical matters, household needs, responsibilities, and plans for the future. His focus remained steady. Never dramatic. Adera watched these changes with careful eyes. She noticed how respect followed consistency, rather than display. She also noticed how easily the village adjusted its opinions when new authority appeared one afternoon. An older woman told Adera quietly that admiration fades, but character remains. The words were not meant to wound, yet they lingered long after the conversation ended that evening. Adera stood alone outside the compound, listening to distant voices of the village. For the first time, she wondered not how she was seen but who she was without being seen. As preparations for marriage continued, responsibility settled more clearly upon both families. Mama Saad taught Amara the expectations of partnership, patience in disagreement, care in speech, and strength in shared hardship. She reminded her that respect must be protected daily. Amara listened closely. She asked thoughtful questions and accepted guidance without resistance. Her seriousness reassured her. Mother Adera also received attention, though of a different kind. Relatives encouraged her to pursue opportunities beyond the village. Some suggested new prospects. Others advised her to focus on personal growth rather than comparison. Their advice was practical, yet it carried an unspoken message. Her future would not follow the path she once assumed. At the market, people no longer spoke to her with automatic admiration. Instead, they spoke normally. This normalcy felt unfamiliar, like walking without the support she had always known. One afternoon, Adera assisted an elderly trader who struggled to lift a basket. The woman thanked her warmly, but without special praise. The moment was simple, yet it left an unexpected impression. Best for the first time, Adera experienced appreciation that did not depend on appearance, and she did not know whether to feel comforted or unsettled. The season of preparation moved steadily toward conclusion. Kelechi's family sent modest gifts, according to tradition: cloth, food, and symbolic offerings of goodwill. Each gesture emphasized respect rather than display. Elders visited periodically to ensure harmony between families. Their conversations focused on unity, warning that sudden change can test even strong households. Within Mama Saad's compound, daily life remained structured. Work continued. Duties were shared. Outward peace was maintained, yet quiet tension still existed between the sisters. Though neither spoke of it directly. On evening, rain began to fall softly, reminding Mama Saad of the night her daughters were born. She watched them move about the compound, both grown, both changed by circumstances beyond their choosing. She realized that recognition had not divided them. Expectation had led her. That night, Amara sat beneath the eaves, listening to the steady rhythm of rain. She reflected on the path ahead and felt both gratitude and caution. Inside the house, Adera lay awake, no longer searching for explanation, but for direction. She sensed that her life was turning towards something unknown. In Adera, destiny rarely arrived with noise. It arrived quietly and asked each heart to reveal what it truly carried. Preparations for the marriage reached their final stage with calm order rather than celebration. Mama Saad insisted that dignity must guide every step. She reminded Amara that respect gained slowly must never be handled carelessly. Amara accepted each instruction with seriousness. She rose early, worked faithfully, and spoke with care. She felt no pride, only awareness that her life was changing because of choices others had made with trust. Kelechi visited one evening with his uncle to confirm arrangements. Their conversation with Mama Saad was practical and measured. They discussed responsibilities, family expectations, and the value of patience when misunderstandings arise. Adera observed quietly from a distance. She fulfilled her duties without complaint, yet something within her continued to shift. She no longer felt anger as before. Instead, she felt the weight of reflection. That night, she approached Mama Saad privately and asked whether admiration had ever misled her. Mama Saad answered gently that admiration is not false, but it is incomplete when it becomes the only measure of worth. Adera listened without reply. Outside, the village moved through ordinary routines, unaware that within one household, Understanding was forming slowly. Best change does not always arrive through conflicts, it arrives through realization. On the morning before the wedding rites, Mama Saad gathered both daughters together. Her voice was calm but firm. She spoke about unity, reminding them that they entered the world together and must not allow comparison to separate their hearts. She said life would test them differently, but character must remain shared. Amara nodded with quiet agreement. She had never desired separation from her sister. She wished only for peace. Adera listened in thoughtful silence. For many days she had examined her feelings carefully. She realized that her struggle was not with Amara, but with expectations she had accepted without question. Later that afternoon, she walked through the market alone. People greeted her normally. Some offered conversation. None offered admiration without reason. She discovered that ordinary respect required effort, but felt steady once earned. That evening, Adera returned home with an unfamiliar calm. She approached Amara and spoke simply. Said she would support the path ahead. Amara did not respond with surprise or relief. She only thanked her sincerely. It was not a dramatic reconciliation, it was a quiet agreement to move forward without rivalry. And in Adera, quiet agreements often endured longer than loud promises. The wedding day arrived without excess display. Elders gathered, families greeted one another, and blessings were spoken with solemn respect. Amara stood composed, aware of the attention around her, but not defined by it. Her calm presence reflected the same steadiness that had once gone unnoticed. Sekelechi honored each tradition carefully. He greeted Mama Saad with gratitude and acknowledged the responsibility he accepted. His words were measured, his conduct consistent. Adera fulfilled her role beside her sister with dignity. She assisted with preparations, greeted guests, and maintained composure. Many observed her closely, expecting tension. Instead, they witnessed quiet support. Ceremony emphasized partnership rather than spectacle. Elders spoke of patience, cooperation, and humility. They warned that respect must be renewed daily. When formal blessings concluded, the gathering dispersed peacefully. No dramatic celebration followed. Only calm recognition of a union formed through careful choice. As evening approached, Mama Saad watched her daughters together one last time before departure. She felt both pride and reflection. Best, the village had witnessed a change in fortune. A bit, she had witnessed something to pair. A change in understanding. Life after the wedding settled into new rhythm quickly. Amara adjusted to her new household with the same patience she had practiced for years. She listened more than she spoke, learned routines carefully, and treated each responsibility with seriousness. Sekelechi respected her steady nature. Their partnership grew through shared tasks and quiet conversations rather than grand gestures. In Adera, the village gradually accepted the change it once questioned. People spoke of Amara with respect that no longer felt uncertain. They began to recognize qualities they had overlooked. Adera remained with Mama Saad, helping manage the household and business without constant comparison. She discovered interests she had never explored: trade planning, organization, and community work. Her identity began to form from effort rather than admiration. Evening, a neighbor thanked her sincerely for assistance with a difficult task. The gratitude was simple, but genuine. Adera realized that recognition earned through action carried a different weight. It did not rise quickly, but it remained steady, and, for the first time, she felt anchored not by how she appeared but by what she contributed. Seasons passed, and the story of the sisters settled into memory. Within Adera, people no longer spoke of surprise. They spoke of lessons. They said that judgment formed too quickly often fails to see fully. They said silence can hide strength as easily as noise can hide weakness. Amara continued her life with quiet consistency. She neither sought attention nor avoided responsibility. Her dignity remained unchanged from the days she was overlooked. Adera grew into her own path steadily. She earned trust through effort and gained respect through reliability. Her transformation was not sudden, but it was lasting. Mama Saad observed both daughters with deep gratitude. She understood that life had not favored one child over another. It had revealed them differently. On evening, as the sun lowered over the fields, the sisters walked together through the village paths they once traveled as children. People greeted them with balanced respect, not because destiny had reversed judgment, but because time had corrected. Understanding gained in a village where beauty was once worshipped above all else. Measure of worth had quietly changed. Months passed, and Adera continued its quiet rhythm, yet small changes in perception had become permanent. Where once people rushed to praise beauty, they now paused to notice effort, patience, and quiet dignity. Amara worked alongside Kelechi in the household and fields, learning the balance of partnership and responsibility. He treated her as an equal, valuing her advice and decisions. She never sought admiration, but recognition followed naturally through respect and action. Adera, too, found herself adjusting to this new rhythm. Without constant comparison to her sister, she discovered talents she had ignored: negotiating with traders, organizing events in the village, and speaking thoughtfully when her insight was needed. Her confidence grew, but it was no longer born from vanity, it was grounded in capability. The village, observing these changes, began to shift subtly. People whispered less about appearance and more about deeds. Mothers who had once predicted futures based on beauty now offered guidance to their daughters about patience, wisdom, and humility. For the first time, the sisters felt the power of perception, changing not from force or conflict, but from consistent behavior and quiet strength. And though jealousy still lingered in whispers, it no longer had control over hearts that understood value differently. One evening, under a full moon, Adera and Adera sat together outside the compound. The sisters spoke without anger, without rivalry, simply observing the village that had shaped them. Adera remarked how strange it was that the world once ignored her, yet Kelechi had recognized her quietly, without fanfare. She wondered how many others carried unnoticed strength, waiting for someone to see. Adera smiled softly. Perhaps we were always the same, but the village chose stories for us until someone else changed the narrative, she said. The realization settled between them. Comparison had always been Adera's way of measuring worth, but the sisters now understood that true value could not be dictated by gossip, attention, or admiration. Alanathi laughed quietly at the memory of past tension, and for the first time, the village felt small beneath their shared calm. Life moved forward with steady rhythm. Adera and Kelechi built a household grounded in partnership, fairness, and patience. Their bond grew from trust, mutual respect, and shared understanding of responsibility. Focused on personal growth and contribution to the community, she earned respect through effort and action, rather than outward appearance, and discovered satisfaction in achievements that mattered beyond gossip and praise. The village slowly adapted, remembering lessons from the sisters' story. They noticed that admiration without understanding could mislead, and that silence often carried strength. Unseen old habits persisted in whispers, but the sisters no longer allowed comparison to dictate their hearts. They had learned that identity is built not by who notices you first, but by the life you live consistently, patiently, and with integrity. Years later, the village remembered the story of the sisters differently. Children asked about Adera and Adera not because of beauty, but because of character and resilience. Mothers taught daughters to value effort and respect above appearance. Now a mother herself, told her children stories about quiet strength and careful attention to deeds. She spoke of patience, humility, and the power of being seen for who you truly are rather than what you look like. Adera, independent and capable, continued to inspire those around her, showing that growth comes from persistence and self-awareness. She understood that life rewards steady action more than instant admiration. Sisters often walked together, side by side, carrying lessons learned from a village that once measured worth only by beauty. And in their steps, Adera saw a quiet revolution, a recognition that true value is neither loud nor immediate, but enduring. Under the golden light of sunset, Adera and Adera reflected on their lives. They had been shaped by the same village, the same circumstances, yet chosen differently by destiny and recognition. Adera smiled at the memory of Kelechi's calm gaze that first saw her quietly working at the market. It reminded her that being noticed does not require grandeur, it requires presence, patience, and dignity. Adera remembered how jealousy once filled her heart, and she forgave herself for misunderstanding her own value. She realized admiration is fleeting, but character remains. Together, the sisters walked toward the village square, where people greeted them with respect that had evolved from understanding rather than habit. Children ran past, mothers smiled knowingly, and elders nodded in quiet approval. In a village where beauty was once worshipped above all, the measure of a person had changed. It was no longer defined by who drew attention, but by who carried strength, integrity, and quiet patience. And so, in Adera, the sisters lived as proof that true recognition often chooses the ones overlooked, and that patience and dignity can outshine the brightest praise.